Hello and welcome to Web Relates. Today we're looking at the Petty Revenge subreddit. Our first story is by Shutterbug. Someone was giving my phone number to throw off debt collectors and solicitors. I found out who was doing it and directed them to contact her. So this started about a year ago with a campaign solicitation text saying, "Hi Donna, fake name, I have a few friends named Karen and they are the nicest ladies you'd ever meet. This is the headquarters of Candidate X. I'm running for county name and office. Can we count on your vote?" I would text back that they had a wrong number and get an apologetic response with a promise to remove my number. But I continued to get political as well as real estate solicitations. "Hi Donna, I'm with XYZ Realtors. I was wondering if you were looking to sell your property at 123 Main Street?" On top of that, I started getting calls from collection agents trying to reach Donna. No matter how many times I said they had a wrong number, they kept calling. Now these text numbers, based on their area codes, originated in the opposite end of the country where I live. With just a first name, a partial address, and an area code from that region, I went online to do a reverse address lookup. I found a site where, when I typed in the start of an address, it brought up a pick list with possible combinations for the house number and street names. I found an address that was in a town that was part of the area code where the text came from. Sure enough, the information pulled up Donna's full name, her full address, and her cell phone number. So I sent her the following text. "Hello Donna, you don't know me, but you apparently know my number. Please stop giving it out to solicitors, collection companies, and campaigners. Thanks to online research, I have your name, address, and phone number. So I will say it again. Stop giving out my number." I don't know if this emboldened her, because the text kept coming. So I simply forwarded them to her and texted, "Whenever I get a solicitation in your name, I'm going to forward them to you." In addition, I would text solicitors back and provide them with Donna's correct cell number. I have not received a solicitation text since. As for the collectors, I have an app on my phone that converts text to speech so that I don't have to talk directly with robocallers and the like. Since I can preload text replies, I created one regarding Donna. So whenever I got a collection call looking for Donna, I provided this automated response. "You have the wrong number. This person, Donna X, has been giving out my phone number to deflect collectors from contacting her. I don't know her or even live in her state, but I managed to get some information about her thanks to some online research. Her correct phone number is, etc." The collections calls have since stopped as well. So Redditors, was I wrong to contact Donna and put her on alert? Or should I have just discreetly passed her number off to those trying to reach her? Now this one is barely even a revenge, it's just putting things back on the correct course. However, we have a very nice comment over here by R. Fuller. "If you have her address, you should pay her back with some interest in various religious institutions, especially the Mormons, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Scientologists. Maybe make a $25 political donation in her name with her info. Make sure it's not for the same political party that you've been getting messages from. Scientologists will famously not let you go once they get a hold of your information. Also, I'd love to know what app she's using to auto-answer those robocallers." Our next story is by Lulu Bell. "Want to put me on performance review for having cancer? Okay." After several checks, it was confirmed I had cancer and had to be in hospital for a while. I worked in recruitment, and to my knowledge, to my face, in calls to me anyway, my company was supportive of my battle. Whilst at home recovering from an op that I had to have to remove cancer and to help with recovery, I kept on working, / kept up with my clients, etc. Even though I took 3 months off unpaid leave. I just wanted to show my company that although I was off, like I asked for cancer or something, and also wanted to show them that I was grateful of their support and understanding of what I was going through. During this time, I made several high-profile placements, and due to most having long notice periods, technical directors, etc., they wouldn't start for a few months and we invoice/bill clients on the start date. The pipeline I generated was worth $200,000 in a single month, which was the highest ever in the 10-year history of the company. A very good month would be about 20 to 30,000 generated. When I came back, I had a meeting with the director, and I was about to thank him for his support, etc., and to excitedly tell him about my pipeline. However, before I could, he said he was happy I was healthy. However, he had to put me on performance review for missing a critical time in the business and for not hitting my targets. I looked at him and said, As you know, I had cancer and also took the time off as unpaid. The director said, yes, however, not meeting KPIs while still employed by us means I have to do this to be fair to others in the team. I looked at him, shocked, but then did the math in my head and just said, okay. Now it takes about 30 days for payment to hit our accounts, so I bid my time. That week, the first batch of my new placements dropped. I quietly invoiced. The next week, more followed. Third week, our division had our monthly meeting, where we each have to share the pipeline for that month. It got to me and I said, I'm currently on $161,000 and have another $40,000 pending. You should have seen his face. His boss was at that meeting also. Most of my team knew what had happened to me and had my back and smirked. We got paid commission monthly, and I knew I had another 5 weeks before these would be paid out. So I just quietly worked, and luckily was also approached by one of my internal clients that wanted me to come work internally for them. I'm actually still with them to this day. As soon as that wedge of commission dropped, I called a meeting with the director. He was all smiles and said, OP, I knew there would be no hard feelings about having to put you on performance review, and we are taking you off it. I see now it was completely unnecessary. I told him thanks, but I was giving him my notice. I said that, having gone through the stress of what I had to go through, really made me think about what was important at the end of the day. He and his boss apparently did not know about the performance review, don't know if true or not, tried to make me stay by offering raises and promotions, etc. I, of course, refused. A couple of people I know are still there, and to this day, my record of highest biller in that company still stands. Our last story is by Starchild. Neighbor drove out my driveway. This was years ago, actually decades ago. I was 25 years old when I was able to buy my first house. It meant a lot to me. I was just a laborer and it took everything I had to pay rent, eat cheap, and pay for the down payment. I didn't come from money, nor was I afforded any type of generational wealth. I had to get a conventional loan which had a higher interest rate. Plus, the house had to meet certain requirements in order for the home to qualify for the loan. That means an inspector had to check the property and make an assessment. I met the inspector at the house. I was renting a home just one street over. The inspector showed me the list of things the homeowner had to fix. 2 of the biggest were all the electrical outlets needed to have dielectric grease on the connectors. House had aluminium wire, not copper. Long story longer, that helped prevent electrical fires. The other big thing was the soil around the house had to slope away from the foundation. I knew the sellers were not going to fix any of that stuff, and someone else could afford to buy via cash or a different loan mechanism. I asked the homeowner if I could fix those items myself. They had no issues. I spent the next 3 days working non-stop doing exactly what needed to be done. On a Monday, the inspector came out and said the ground sloping away wasn't good enough. I was there with him and told him I did the best I could, and I was the person buying the home, and I would do exactly what he wanted, but I first needed to secure the purchase. He looked at everything on the list, and the dirt was the only item that was of issue. He must have took pity on me because I got the loan and started to move in. The first issue I had was a neighbor across the street and 2 homes over, kept parking in my driveway. Every time I came with a truck, he had his car parked in my driveway. I didn't even know who owned the car. I started to knock on doors. One neighbor pointed me to the guy's house. He would not come to the door. I just as polite as possible, yelling through the door that I need him to move his car because I am moving in. After 10 minutes, nothing. So I went back and not very politely told him his car was now on a tow truck and I was giving him the tow truck company's card on his porch. It was amazing how fast he got to the door then. He opened the door and ran past me only to see his car still parked in my driveway. He turned around and said I lied. I said his car will be towed in about 10 minutes by the company I worked for, Tow Jam. He moved his car right then. I didn't work for a tow company, but it didn't matter. I believe it was a deterrent for him to believe it. Was it petty? I believe so. The next petty thing that took place was between myself and my next door neighbor. Our driveways were next to each other with a strip of yard that separates the drives as well as the properties. He had a young teenage son that was always working on his POS in their driveway. One day, the kid drives off his driveway and through my yard, and out of my driveway. I was a little ticked off. A little later, he returns home and again drives to my driveway, across my yard and onto his driveway. I walk up to their front door, knock, and when the door opens, I'm greeted with a teenager, says, "What?" I ask to speak with his dad or mom. He shuts the door and I don't hear anything. I walk back over to my home and I get a lawn chair and sit on their porch. Every 10 minutes I knock on the door. Finally the kid says they aren't home. I said I'll wait. Another 5 minutes goes by and the dad finally steps out. He's just as creepy as his kid. I tell him what took place and said I don't want it to happen again and actions have consequences. Well, it happened again and now I'm really ticked off. I go and pull up a couple of dead rose bushes and plant them at the corner of my driveway. Go and knock on the door, and when the father figure appears, I walked him out and showed him my beautiful dead rose bushes. He noted that the bushes were dead. I asked him if that was his first house, and he said no. I said this is my first home, and I needed him to respect that. That the rose bushes were a symbol, that I could very easily plant spikes that would puncture tires, not thorns on a beautiful brown rose bush. He looked at me, nodded, and went back inside. I heard yelling, and from then on, his kid didn't mess with my property. I want to add that I've been petty my entire life. Countless amounts of planning and being ate up with these types of silliness. After a lot of therapy, I can finally say I'm a lovable, well-adjusted, petty MFer. Lol. I actually really like the rosebush analogy. It's poetry. Alright guys, thank you very much for watching. That's all for today. If you enjoyed the content, please like, comment and subscribe. And then I will see you guys in the next video. Cheers and have a good one.